The problem in my head was like not obviously there's powerful women in history. It wasn't how to be a powerful woman, but men would still need to treat them in a historical fashion. But I like the idea of creating powerful NPC or historical figures within your LARP can help the overall feel be a little bit easier to role play, I guess. Yeah, I like that.
I agree largely with Sarah. I think that like one of the big things though that I would think it's probably important to have pretty thick skin too. Like if you're gonna try to go for a position of power, because a lot of people will, like especially in medieval type settings. I mean, if a person has in their backstory that they don't particularly respect a woman in power, like I mean that happens. So I think we just have to kind of roll with it. But yeah, I thought that was very good.
It's actually kind of funny too, going from my own experience. There's actually a game that's going to be opening up probably in the summer, which is a Werewolf the Apocalypse-based game, but set in the 1930s. The organizers had nothing but issues of attracting females, women to it, right? And a lot of what you outlined there is basically the same arguments I gave there. It's like there is ways for you to do it. Yes, there is going to be challenges, but that's the time period you're in, right? Which you can take as a challenge of role play to portray somebody who's trying to overcome those, right? As opposed to just saying that time period has this element in it, I'm not going to play, right? It's the challenge of the organizers selling the idea of the game to the players, I think, is where a lot of that comes from, right?
Yeah. Something I've run into, or not run into, in a lot of the games I've played in is license to play characters that are a gender that aren't your own. I mean, whether I've just not seen it by way of, well, it's hard to do the makeup.
Yeah,
possibly
I've seen it. It's
Interesting.
There was.
Yeah, and the question is, you know, as an organizer, do you create a really excellent venue for allowing players to play non-gender characters?
You mean like if it's a male role that a female has to dress up like a male to play it? Is that the
I think
idea?
you could make the argument that there should be some sort of costume to represent it, but it just seems to be too little. I've never seen it in a game.
I've seen it run
3 times now.
Yeah, and maybe it's
probably not the same 3 times.
No, probably not.
maybe that's a good litmus test for your roles.
Sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it doesn't.
From what my own experiences is, again, drawing not just from the LARPing community, but also like the cosplay community and stuff like that. More often than not, when it comes to somebody cosplaying gender not their own, it seems to be from the female playing the male. Yeah, not the other way around. I don't know whether that's necessarily just.
I've seen both.
You see, I've seen somebody doing like a transgender, somebody who's in like both, and that was really awkward seeing a very large hairy man in a dress. It's something I do know.
Very common in LARPing, I gotta say. From what I've seen. Very common.
I've seen that in Dream Quest, which was probably the first commercial live role-playing game in Edmonton, way back in the early 80s. There was a class system. They had a rule system. It was a very gamist approach. And it was all based on classes. Initially, they had only 5 classes, and one of the classes, actually 2 of the classes, were gender specific. I don't know how they got away with this, but they said you have to be playing a male character to play a wizard, and you have to be playing a female character to play an enchantress. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of us found that pretty offensive, but they just put it in the rules, and they didn't want to hear anybody say differently. So we did have players who came and wore fake beards to be wizards, and we had a couple of guys who came and wore high heels and everything to play the enchantress, and they did a splendid job of it. But it was really an interesting attempt to sort of say in your face to the game organizers.
One of the best actually males playing females I actually heard of was from Sunfall, where I think it was Jeff Elder and Jim Slater playing a female Eden. And
right? Yes.
and they crushed Chris Hewitt between their massive tits.
The downside of cross-gender play is that it attracts enough attention that if that player goes camp, everything around them goes camp.
Yeah. It has to be done tastefully and with maturity, otherwise it actually ruins the entire field.
Well, yeah, they'll take their whole scene, every scene they're in goes camp with them.
But I've seen it done really well.
Yeah.
There was one guy who played a vampire up there, and he was a cross-dresser, like in real life.
Yeah.
So he wanted to play a female character. Done. He looked really good in the dress, actually.
Well, one of the NPCs for us, because we had a number of people apply to be the NPCs for us, she wants to play one of our male NPCs we have in the game. And I've seen her show up at, she's again a cosplayer from like Animathon and stuff like that. I thought she was a man the first 3 times I met her, until she opened her voice and went, hi. I'm like, oh, that's obviously a woman trying to be a man. You know, but again, it's a matter of, like, if it's an NPC role specifically, you have to, if there's a cross-gender role like that, you as the organizer have to include them. This isn't a thing to be funny. This isn't British comedy. You know, like, you know, this is, you know, I want to convey, unless of course the person is supposed to be very visibly, you know, that gender transition thing, right? It's about picking theme.
For your friends who are trying to run a game in the 1930s, send them to me at some point, because in keeping with the idea of having strong specific roles, I ran a game in the 1930s, and I had never, zero difficulty attracting women, because I had, here are the archetypical roles that you can play, and all of them were
It's godlike,
men and
actually.
women.
Yeah, it's godlike. It's medium armor.
Yeah, when I was like, I'm going to, you know, run this game, here are some archetypes you can play. And that's how I pitched the game.
Mm-hmm.
And women would look down at the sheet and go, I want that one.
Yeah.
No difficulties.
I'm drunk.
That's actually one of the issues, like, I wonder how you'd solve this that we're having with our game, is that we have historical archetypes, right?
Right.
So the problem we're having is a woman will come along and say, I want to be a Norse berserker, to which we say, well, there aren't any. You know, I mean, like there are lots of good female Norse roles, but not this. Or they want to be like a specific
Is that always
kind
true
of
though?
druid or something.
Bonaccio was completely unprecedented.
Well, yeah, we have all kinds of cool Celt roles, but I mean, we're doing like 5 different cultures, and if they want that specific archetype, it's a male thing, right? I mean, you're not going to be the centurion of the Roman legion and a woman.
That's scary,
right?
But the berserkers are awesome.
Well, the question is, who is stopping you?
Yeah.
Well, because we're trying to do a historic.
In
But
the
the thing
sense,
is,
who's trying to
if you
stop you?
give the person who's stopping the female, like, make him a PC, then you can say you want to be the legionnaire. That's fine. Deal with him first. Because really,
Yeah.
you're in England.
In a sense,
If you want to
yes,
slap
right.
on legionnaire armor as a woman,
That's what we're
you're
gonna
not
open it
close
up
enough
to, but
Rome for someone to stop
We
you.
don't want you coming into game as like, for 20 years I've been a female legionnaire. But if they show up and then they want to start becoming a legionnaire, like we're kind of playing the Wild West at the edge
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
right?
And
That kind of role it's able to develop into.
For me, again, it shows the issue is not with the women, it's how the men have to treat that woman if they want
Yeah.
to be historical.
You know what? It doesn't matter what game that you're playing in, though, that runs into it. Like modern vampire games, okay, where, you know, women have as much power as the men do, or more, right? Depending it is. I have seen in the 6+ years 2 female princes. The rest were all guys, right? And in fairness, the women who did become princes were very, very strong women at a game too. More often than not, what I find is when a woman comes to play the game, this is really unfortunate, is I want to play something that's crazy and kooky, or I want to play something that's with art, right? As opposed to embracing, you know, you're a thing of the night, rule it, right? You know, like women empowerment doesn't get any more logical than that when you can physically go to your former husband who used to beat you and rip his throat out, like, you know, physically, not verbally, right? Like,
The female princes that I've seen have also fallen in the same archetypical roles as a lot of like British queens.
yeah.
Elizabeth, Victoria,
Yeah.
the extraordinarily famous ones were often deliberately, they portrayed themselves for public relations as effectively sexless,
Yeah.
icy, and powerful because they were unlike women who were soft and warm.
Yeah.
And the female princes I've seen in vampire games, the players deliberately went for that too because it was a way to make their character convincing to the men who were playing.
Mm-hmm. Vanessa actually did that.
That's perfect for it. She
Yeah.
did exactly that.
Yeah.
I think Criminal Underground is a really good example of where women can take on a role of a man, because if she can hurt you, you listen. Because Criminal Underworld it's already in the fringe, because, you know, one of the things, what we're essentially bashing our head against is, well, there's hegemony. And you want to represent hegemony in the game, period, and gender falls under hegemony, and there's not many ways to avoid that. One of the great places to avoid hegemony, or to recreate hegemony, is in the Criminal Underworld. So you want to play a legionnaire, well, okay, we could do something similar with, you know, a Roman who's now running a criminal trade, and you have that same amount of power and authority, and maybe, you know, your goal in the game is to assassinate the guy who's the head of the Legionnaires and say, you know what, fuck this, we're the Legionnaires.
Or alternatively too, there's always the classic Mulan approach, again going to the cross-dressing thing. But as opposed to actually being, you know, you're playing a man, no, you're playing a woman.
Playing a man. There's actually probably more room for that. Like I can see that happen.
That'd be.
You know, and
And then there's a secret that you have in game that
That's
you can't
right.
let anyone find out.
Right, and the only problem with that is if you get 10 people who all latch on to that concept, right?
Well, they have monstrous regiment.
Yeah.
The way they do things.
You know, that one, those 3 days a month, you know, these like 10 Legionnaires, they're unstoppable. Like, I don't get it.
But you could, you know, that's also what happened. You get 10 players who latch onto that want to be Legionnaires, you literally have an
Or you have
female commander corps.
right, and they break
that
off and
moved
start
together,
Yeah.
built a commander corps together. Their soldiers don't know they're all
And their secret
but
can
the
be kept between
entirety
them,
of the Roman, like the Roman command unit knows that it's female. Nobody else does.
Yeah.